Welcome to another episode of the Nic Cage Fight Podcast, where we condone explicitly taking your child with you on a vengeful murder spree. After all, how else are you going to prevent the collapse of the nuclear family? I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and I'm joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we?
I mean, fine after watching this. Yeah,
I'm walking
fine.
the razor sharp path between heaven and hell.
We
You see,
are
that's
here.
that's why I wait for Ryan, because I'm always just like, I'm always two steps away from just offing myself, and Ryan always has something like intelligent to say.
I was trying to remember the line from Lone Wolf and Cub.
We're here today to talk about The Old Way, a 2023 film, the newest film we've reviewed on this podcast that was rated R and clocks in at an hour and 35 minutes. Fine.
Mercifully, an hour 35, because I saw it was a Western. I was like, oh man, this is going to be 2 hours and change. Nah, nice, easy, breezy film.
Yeah, they coast along at a pretty good clip, which I'm comfortable with. But yeah, why don't we get into housekeeping? Because it's another one of those odd ones, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
First up, we have Brett Donahue, who has also directed a couple of things, none I'm particularly familiar with. Acts of Violence, which I think was just one of Bruce Willis's mindless action movies when his brain
Let's say
stopped
it's
working.
actually mindless now.
Yeah, that's a 100% a geezer teaser right there. I think
Yeah.
he's in 5 minutes of that movie.
Salvation USA, The Sacred, and A Haunting at Silver Falls.
It seemed like most of what this dude had previously done was horror, which I was kind of surprised he didn't lean more into that for the Western, because like when Western and horror meet, I love that shit.
You're thinking of Bone Tomahawk.
I am thinking
I know
about-
you.
I am thinking of Bone Tomahawk. I love that movie.
We're all thinking of Bone Tomahawk every time we have to watch a Western film.
Yeah, he's only directed 9 movies.
5 of which are horror flicks.
I was looking at his producer credits at first because that's what he has done the most of. He's actually acted in 20. He was in The Old Way.
Yeah, it seems that he puts himself in films that he is involved in some other way as far as the project is concerned.
He gives himself the old Quentin Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, less N-words, which is good.
The old M. Night Shyamalan. So, yeah, there's your director. As far as the writer is concerned, this film was written by a Carl W. Lucas, who has written 2 other things that I'm not familiar with, and that is Illegal and The Wave. No clue.
Huh. Yeah, never heard of either of these movies, and Illegal was made 13 years ago, so...
The Wave seems to have Justin Long and that dude from Psych in it.
All right, that I might check out.
Yeah, not very prolific.
But yeah, either way, we have a director who hasn't directed a lot of things and a writer who hasn't written a lot of things. Usually not a good combination.
But then you add in the armorer from Rust.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that we touched on that.
And things can go seriously wrong.
Yeah, which and I believe we brought this up too. Nic Cage almost walked off the set.
No, so I looked into it. He did walk off the set. And they had to convince him to come back, but he was like, no, I'm done. I'm absolutely done with this movie. And like, it took them a day to like convince him to come back.
I think he was still done with this movie. I think the concept of his character allowed his bits to be delivered in a pretty wooden fashion, which we'll get into for sure, because it's the primary thing of interest to talk about with this film. But yeah, not one of his more engaged performances, but since we're talking about Nic Cage, let's jump into the cast list, starting as always with Nic Cage as Colton Briggs. Next up, we have Dean Armstrong as Clark. Dean Armstrong was in Repo, the Genetic Opera, Saw 3D, Queer as Folk.
Wait, they made a Saw 3D?
Yeah, they did.
Holy shit, I gotta see that.
And he was also in Chapelwaite. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's some TV series. I think Adrian Brody's in it. I'm pretty sure he features prominently on the poster. Not familiar. Next up on the cast list, we actually have Dean Armstrong's daughter, Ryan Kira Armstrong, as Brooke Briggs. She has been in Firestarter, American Horror Story, Black Widow, It Chapter 2, and The Tomorrow War. So quite a budding career for her. I don't know that The Old Way is helpful on her CV, but who knows?
It could be. You never know.
Yeah.
I heard that Firestarter remake was pretty good. I got to get around to that one.
See, I don't remember hearing good things about it, but
I heard it was passable. I like the original Firestarter. I don't think I ever read the book though.
Next up, we have Noah LaGrosse. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. As James McAllister. Forewarning, I just call him Bandit Leader for most of it because they introduce his name too late in the film and say it too little for it to have stuck in my head while I was taking my scene by scene notes. But this gentleman has been in a couple of films, including The Beach House, A Score to Settle, The Get Down, which I believe was a TV show, and Depraved. Not overly familiar with any of those, but
no, and that's going to be a refrain for a lot of these actors too, which is never seen any of these movies.
Yeah, I will give this guy credit though. I thought his performance was really good in this film, so there's that. Next up, we have Nick Searcy as Marshall Jarrett, who was in Fried Green Tomatoes, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, whatever long title there.
Worst Michael McDonough film. That's all you got to say.
Yeah.
Three Oscar nominations outside of Mississippi, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's what. Yeah,
it's sad that movie sucks because I really like Frances McDormand and I like generally Michael McDonough's movies.
And he was also in Justified.
The one I'll shout out on this is the Belko Experiment, which I quite liked. The movie is real fucked up.
I mean, I feel like anything that is called the blank experiment, like it's going to be a fucked up movie.
There's not a lot of good experiments.
No. Have you ever seen Mayhem with Stephen Yeun?
No.
That's kind of the hitching point I usually use for this movie because it's like that, but not funny.
Wait, is that the one where like everybody gets a virus in like a office building?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I know which one you're talking
Belko
about.
Experiment is that, but not funny.
I guess it depends on how you watch it.
Not really. That one that's is grim.
All right, now you got me interested, so I'm gonna have to check it out. Next up, we have Abraham Ben-Ruby as Big Mike, who's been in a number of things, including Christmas Bloody Christmas, the ER TV series for quite a run, Open Range, and he does a voice in World of Warcraft.
What voice is he doing World of Warcraft?
I'm not sure. He's credited as Abe Ben-Ruby, but I'm not sure if they like just straight up gave him a character named after himself or what.
Oh, he probably does. He probably is one of the voice actors that does like 20 different voices or something. Because normally
that seems to be what I'm showing. I show like monster vocal effects as his listed credit for those.
Yeah, like people who end up doing like a ton of different voices for a video game, they just get the credit but don't put down what it is.
Yeah, gotcha. He's also in Diablo 3 as Orzael.
Huh.
Oh, so he's like a Blizzard go-to, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it based on his CV.
Yeah, he's got some voice credits from video games. It's kind of interesting.
I hope he's also suing them.
Who?
Blizzard, just because Blizzard is
yes
being sued into oblivion right now.
Oh, I actually have a concrete role for him on World of Warcraft. He's the Primus, no relation to Les Claypool.
Oh, that makes it way worse.
Next up, we have Clint Howard as Eustace, who is one of the names that I catch on to relatively quickly because it's a standout, and they use his name a whole bunch. Now, Clint Howard has 252 fucking acting credits, so you definitely have seen him. I just picked out a smattering of them, but he was in The Waterboy, the Austin Powers films, Far and Away, Little Nicky, The Rocketeer, and some other ones that Ryan is going to tell you about.
He's on 56 episodes of Gentle Ben, the one about the bear. He's also in the Fist of the North Star live action movie that sucks shit. He's in Carnosaur, which is a great Roger Corman like Jurassic Park ripoff. Leprechaun 2. This man's been in some good trash.
Next up, we have Carrie Knupp as Ruth Briggs, who's been in a lot of TV. She was in the Ratched series on Netflix, Pachinko, RIPD 2 Rise of the Damned, and that's about as far as I got.
They made a second one of those?
They did make a second one. I think it was like a direct-to-video one.
Because the first one was god awful, so
I like Bridges, so I watched it, but it was a bad flick.
yeah, no, that's exactly why I watched it. I'm like, I like Jeff Bridges. I like Ryan Reynolds. Let's see where this takes me. And it took me nowhere.
And Kevin Bacon is in that film, and it's still just a bit of a mess. And then last up, I had to throw him in here because he directed the thing. But Brett Donahue plays Corporal Lawrence, who I am still not sure who that is in this film. And he's been in SEAL Patrol, American Brothers, The Peak, Scamelot, which I threw in there because I like the name of it.
Yeah, this movie you're gonna get a lot of us calling people by their actor name or just who they are in the film and no names, because names don't really get brought up a lot in this movie.
Yeah, no, it again, Eustace is probably the most used character name in the course of the film.
And did anybody else get really confused at the beginning of the film? We'll get into it, but one of the U.S. Marshals and one of the people in like the criminal gang look very, very similar.
Yes.
And I was very
what you're talking
confused.
about.
I thought that like there was going to be an ambush. I'm like, wait, those are two different fucking people?
Yes, they do look very similar. You're talking about one of the members of the gang whose name is apparently Boots.
Yes.
And he does look a lot like the deputy marshal dude or whatever. But we're finished with housekeeping, so we can dive right into the plot of the film from here. So I did like the opening scene, and the biggest thing I'm mad about this film, if I had to pick one thing I was angry about, is that Cage only has this glorious mustache in the opening scene. And
I was really excited for it. I was really excited for it. I was like, this is going to shoot him straight to the moon for hair rankings.
Absolutely. It's like two fucking caterpillars crawling on his face.
It's a glorious, beautiful mustache. But what we open on appears to be a bit of frontier justice in progress. It's a hanging is going on, and there's a guy giving a speech, and it took me forever when I first wrote the note. I was like, the hangman / sheriff / godbotherer. I wasn't sure what the fuck this dude's role was. And then when I learned it, when they explicitly state it, I was even more confused.
Yeah, that like he owns like the general store or something.
Yeah, he's
like,
the shop owner.
He is apparently he's like the everything. He is what's the guy why he is Ian McShane in Deadwood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Al Swearingen is the character's name for that.
Yes.
Great,
yeah, but
great
like
Western
where he
name.
just kind of does everything. Like he owns the inn, but kind of like has his hand in everything. That's what I kind of got. But also like this dude was just a dick the whole time. Where he was like, "Now you're gonna watch your daddy hang."
Yeah,
and like his dad's trying to tell him like, "You could go home," and he's like, "Nope, you got to watch us murder your father."
Yeah, it's really weird because he's monologuing and he's talking about God, and he's proclaiming that this dude is guilty and he's gonna hang for his crimes, which is theft apparently from the general store that he runs, and it's just a bizarre speech. But we do get our first look at Nic Cage at this point, who again cannot emphasize enough how awesome the mustache is, and it looks like he's working security of some sort for the hanging. And there is the concern that this man's brother and his gang might make a move to try and prevent the hanging from being completed. And sure enough, we get a couple of shots of some guys creeping around, like stepping out of doorways and stuff like that, and they make their move. A firefight breaks out on the street, and this part cracked me up because Briggs is not doing anything. He's just sort of like looking around as a bunch of people are firing guns. And then he finally makes his move and shoots most of them dead without like any effort whatsoever.
I just like to imagine he's got the beautiful mind, like calculation behind his head going.
That is incredibly prescient as to how this character develops from here on out. But again, like Rich said, the mercantile dude had like given the guy's kid a speech about watching his dad get hanged. But the merchant dude takes a bullet at some point in the firefight, and Briggs goes over to him where he's dying, and like takes money out of his pocket and is like, this isn't what you agreed to. And then he goes into the building behind him and comes out with more money, and he's like, now we're square. And goes to walk off. Now, while all of this stuff is happening, somebody is cut down, like somebody from the gang is cut down the man who is supposed to get hanged.
But like,
And
why does this dude have a gang? It's not like he was like rustling cattle. He like stole like some flour from the fucking store. Why is there a gang?
I think I think just everybody in the Old West was in a gang of some sort. Like no
All
matter what you
right,
got up to, it's just a
fine.
group of people who knew you. That's your gang.
It's an excuse for the filmmakers to use some Western tropes, and I think that's about it.
100%. And again, they didn't think this far through it themselves because the crime described is relatively petty. And then you're right, he has a whole gang of people with guns, so it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, like they all had guns. This was like very, very much like coordinated. Of the you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. I'm gonna cut him down, and again, this man stole like a can of beans.
So the man who was supposed to be hanged, his brother is shot dead by Briggs during Briggs's very quick shooting spree in response to the breakout attempt. And so as Briggs is walking away, the almost hanged man goes to fire at him, and Briggs just spins around and shoots him right between the eyes, killing him right in front of the kid who's been around while all of this gunfighting has been happening. And Briggs and the kid sort of stare each other down for a minute before Briggs just gets on his horse and rides off. This is where we get the title card of the film, The Old Way. And we also get an update notifying us that it is 20 years later. This is pretty apparent. In my notes, I wrote just enough time for a young man to grow up and get some vengeance, I'm assuming. And sure enough. But what we open on from here is a woman hanging clothes up to dry on a line, and we see the unfortunately shaved face of Briggs watching her from like the porch, and they have a little conversation. We learn that they're married and have a daughter together.
Very sad.
And
Very sad that he
Briggs is
shaved.
tasked with, yeah, it's horrible.
Truly the greatest tragedy of the whole film.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And so Briggs is instructed that he has to walk his kid to school that day, and he is not super happy about it because he has to open the store. He's like outright mean to this kid. Just seems annoyed by her general presence, and she seems a bit odd as well. They start leaning into this pretty early. But I thought it was funny, just the gruffness from Briggs to his daughter. And we get this like jaunty Wild West tune playing in the background as they walk to the schoolhouse.
It's whatever. You know what?
Yeah.
It's whatever.
But when they get to the schoolhouse, there's just a note on the door that's saying school's been canceled because the only teacher is sick. The kid tries to guess what she's sick with and seems really obsessed with assuming that her teacher has the pox, which I do as a trope. I love it in medieval and Western shit where they're just like, somebody's sick, what do they come down with? It's just the pox. It's always the pox.
Could have been TB. TB was pretty prevalent in the Old West too.
Yeah, I think they just called everything the pox.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. Next time
I
I have
like
to go
that
to the
about the Old
doctors
West.
and they ask me, they're like, what brings you in today when you have to fill out the paperwork? I'm just going to put the pox from here on out. So school is canceled, but Briggs has to open the store. So it's turns very quickly into a take your daughter to work day situation for him. So he goes and lets himself into the store, and we see that it's in fact his. He owns it. He has decided to open his own mercantile in some town after settling down.
Well, he saw how much power the other guy had. He can just hang people for basically no reason. So I could only assume he wanted that same power.
Now, I can tell you what my assumption is, and I'm not going to elaborate here because we'll get to the reveal when we get to it. But I think he was just seeing and doing. Like he just saw an example and was like, "That's what people do, so I'm gonna do it." Didn't have any other idea beyond that.
Fair.
And I think that tracks for the character really well. So a customer comes in right away, and this might be, in my opinion, one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Not the best, but the funniest by far, because this customer comes in and just starts rambling. He's a motor mouth, oversharing, talking about his family. When just asked what he needs from the store, he goes off on this wild explanation. And in between his lines, we cut to Briggs's face, and he is so furious that he's shaking as this man talks to him. I don't know why they leaned into that direction for Cage's acting, but he's just every time just blank faced, shaking with rage in between this man's lines. It's hilarious to me.
Well, I think I have a theory as to why, and it's because this man did not listen to our podcast and did not listen to all of the amazing ads and services that we have. He could have bought in the flour from Lancaster.
Oh, there you go.
Do not do that.
No, we've learned that we can will into existence certain ads. Apparently, when we were going real hard on BYU, we literally got an ad for that on that episode.
We summoned it like Cthulhu.
Yeah, I want to. We still haven't gotten a gas station dick pill advertisement yet, but I think they primarily advertise by word of mouth.
Yeah, I don't think they have an actual ad revenue or
Yeah, no, they just advertise over the ham radio.
That makes sense.
Of just truckers talking back and forth like, "Oh, you got to try the green ones. It made my dick real hard."
we got to put together a pitch for them and just try and get some sponsorships from gas station dick pill companies.
Okay, hold on. I put this together right now. I can do this right now.
All right, what do you got for us?
Okay. Hey, is your dick sauce? God damn it. God damn it. Okay, I'm trying to get without laughing, I promise. Oh, hello there. Is your dick soft, but you can't afford Viagra because you don't have health insurance? Well, good news for you. Gas station dick pills are all the rage. You can take them by mouth. You can crush them up and put them up your nose. Some even work as a suppository if you're into that kind of thing. So the next time that you stop off to get your Marlboro Reds, ask the counter person, "Hey, do you have any dick pills?" And he'll say, "Sir, get the fuck out of here." But no, he'll just sell you the dick pills.
What lucky company is going to run their ad right after that phenomenal in-episode read? I hope it's BYU again.
We're back from the Mormons and the dick pills. I really hope it's BYU and hymns. Like,
that's probably Rhinos and Blackfire dick pills, which I'm seeing here. One capsule lasts 11 days according to the packaging.
That can't be right.
That can't be right.
You can just say anything when you're selling a non-regulated product, I think. Yeah, when it hasn't been reviewed by the FDA, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, like I can just go like patreon.com/Nic Cage fight. Sign up for our $3 tier and we'll mail you some dick pills. I can just say that. Ryan, you have posted this like 3 times. This is the third episode.
It's a completely different one.
This is like the 3rd episode that I have seen this. It's a Vice article called I bought a bunch of gas station boner pills.
No, this is a different one altogether. That last one was on Men's Health. Yes.
I love that the guy from this article says that
made it through one.
Yeah. He wrote, "I didn't die, but I'm not trying any other
Rhinos in Blackfire." It's platinum. 35,000.
That's some good shit.
I don't know what that means.
Yo, that's some good shit, man. The cashier said when he saw me eyeing up The selection of around a half dozen packets of pills. Oh man.
All right, before we end up down another 20-minute rabbit hole about gas station dick pills, and our podcast
that is
swiftly veers into reviewing those instead of Nick Cage movies.
that is what the people want. The people want to hear about gas station dick pills.
I
We're
don't
gonna change
think
the name of the podcast to Dick Cage Fight.
Dick Cage fight. God damn, it's right there.
It is right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but I don't
about
think people want us to seriously get into that because just us sitting here uncomfortably sweaty and rock hard trying to explain our preferred brands, I don't think that's good radio.
I think it'd be great radio.
I don't know.
And then we can transition it into like just a straight up cuck podcast too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you ever wonder why they don't have like those types of pills, especially in a gas station for women?
No, I don't.
No, I don't
Yeah,
wonder
no,
that
I
at
don't
all.
wonder either, but
And I don't
pretty
care about
clear
the woman's pleasure.
there's a difference in expectations of grossness and willingness to ingest stuff of dubious origins between the sexes on this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that just some weird dude invented. Like a glory hole. Do you think a woman invented that? Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, of course not.
No.
The person who invented it wanted to stick their dick in something. It's kind of a prerequisite to even having the thought. All right, yeah,
Want to
okay.
know who's on the other side? Okay, Nick Cage. We're back. We're
Back
back.
to the Old West.
Well, yes. So Nick Cage is looking furious at this man who's telling a story in a very roundabout way before getting to asking for a bag of flour. And Nick Cage has to scamper off to collect a bag of flour for this man. And the man goes to steal some jelly beans from a jar on the counter before realizing there's a kid quietly sitting there just watching him. And so after he gets caught, the guy puts them back and says he was just playing a trick. He wasn't actually going to steal them and not to say anything. And of course, this little girl dimes him out the moment he walks out of the shop. She's just like, he was going to steal jelly beans. But Nick Cage mentions that he'll talk to him about it the next time he comes in. And then the girl is still kind of hung up on what happened because, quote, his hands were dirty. So we get this really funny scene where she empties the jar of jelly beans and starts like individually wiping them down before going to put them back in the display jar. And then you see her have a moment where something clicks in her head and she goes and gets a bunch of separate jars and starts wiping them down and putting them in assorted by color. And yes, okay, so this is what the movie is driving towards, and this is the central thing about these characters that they're pushing. It's that she is neurodivergent in some way, shape, or form. This is the first time they really try and hit you in the head with it, but they will not stop doing that up to and through the conclusion of the film. So there you go. It's again, it's a True Grit ripoff, but we've just got neurodivergent characters, which is fine as a concept. I don't know if it's enough to make a whole movie about personally, but
no,
what are you gonna do?
It is so unnecessary. Nothing about this movie needed this.
No, but it's kind of funny. It kind of plays in certain parts, but it's just odd. It does lead to some really funny fucking scenes, but just a kind of flimsy premise to make a whole feature length film out of.
I think with a more deft writer, it might have been a more impactful conceit, but I do not think that this writer really had it in him to do it well.
Yeah, no, this is literally just a what if scenario that they made a whole movie out of without thinking past just the initial what if idea going off for him. But we cut back to the wife who is still doing laundry. And as she's doing this, she notices there is a lone horseman sort of like on her property. But she goes back to just doing her laundry and gets startled because as she pulls down a sheet, there's just a different man standing there right in front of her. The man is nice enough in how he's talking to her, but it's mildly threatening. And there's a guy on the horse, there's a guy right in front of her, there's another guy that comes around the back of the house. They said they knocked, but they didn't think anybody was home, and they got a little lost, and they're tired. They've been on the road. Maybe she could give them directions, et cetera, et cetera. But again, vaguely threatening. So she tries to scare them away by saying her husband's going to come home soon. And that doesn't work because these men had already seen her husband leave with the daughter, and they know enough time has passed that he's not likely just taking her there and then coming right back. So she tries to flee into the house, but another member of the gang was already inside. And so she goes and flees to the barn where she locks herself in.
Smart.
Now, at this point, we get a little bit of a conversation between the bandits that kind of gives the game away as far as who they are and what they're about. Because the one says they got to stay moving because they're trying to keep ahead of a marshal that is after them. So they get into the barn and they're looking around for her, and it's not apparent where she is. It's possible she's hiding or something like that. So they're trying to convince her to come out, and then she flees the barn on horseback, knocking over one of the bandits and making it out of the barn. But before she gets too far, the head gangster shoots the horse out from under her, and then they grab her and hit her pretty hard to stop her from struggling. And when they bring her back to the barn, the head gangster notices one of the saddles that's kept in the barn is branded with the name Colton Briggs, and asks that if that is her husband, and she says yep. And now she gets to deliver a slightly more threatening monologue about how her husband's essentially a very good at killing psychopath, and these guys just broke his wife's arm and
Shot
his horse. Yeah, like all the startings of a good Western revenge flick.
Yeah, so far everything is on point.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I really like the line where she's like, "You boys have woken up the devil." Pretty well delivered. But from here, we cut back to Briggs, who is coming downstairs in his shop and sees all the organized jelly beans. And his daughter points out that her mom never came to pick her up from school. Briggs points out that, she wasn't at school. And the kid's like, yeah, but she would have seen that and then come here. Like, she would have kept looking at that point, don't you think? And sure enough, yeah, Briggs is like, oh, yeah, no, that is suspicious. Something appears to be wrong. So they head back to the house. And when they get there, there's a marshal at his house. And in fact, it looks like there's a bit of a posse that has just been hanging out in his house while he's been in town. Because they came across this scene and thought, nobody else lived there. The marshal actually even recognizes Colton Briggs from his life before he settled down, and even seems a bit afraid of him. But the marshal asks to speak with him privately, and because he's got some bad news to deliver. And of course, we cut to the very next scene where Brooke Briggs and the marshal and his boys are on, like, sort of sitting on the porch while Colton Briggs is digging a hole beside which a shrouded body clearly is laying. So this is the first scene of several where we get grown people telling this little girl very inappropriate and violent stories, because the marshal tells Brooke about, her dad before he settled down and everything, and how violent he used to be, and so on and so forth. But that it means that, her mother was a very good person because she made, her dad into a good person. And this, of course, prompts the daughter asking, now that her mama is dead, is her dad still going to be a good person? The answer to that is no. No, that's not how this is going to work fucking at all. So the marshal, before he departs, tells Briggs that the men left a mess in the barn and that he should clean it before his daughter sees it. Briggs is only interested in getting the name of the men that did this and where they're going. And the marshal says, absolutely not. You're crazy. And we're formerly very violent, and we're going to do this in accordance with the law. And
the
also,
new way.
yeah, also you have You have
This is actually how I figured out the year this is supposed to be set, because it never states it outright. The Marshall starts talking about Wyoming being incorporated into the Union, so it had to have either been like 1890 or 1891.
okay. So
with incorporated within the past year was the specific line.
yeah. So the marshal essentially tells him to, focus on taking care of his daughter, and the marshal will, handle the bandits. And he explicitly says, as long as your daughter is here and alive on this earth, there's no room for you to go, seeking vengeance in this particular situation. So Briggs sends his daughter to bed and then goes to look at the barn, and he sees a blood stain on the floor, or a bloody handprint on his saddle, essentially right over his name, as well as "I owe you more" written in blood on the wall of the barn. So Colton goes back inside and sits in front of a chest with like some cutlery and dishes and shit on it, before angrily throwing those aside, opening it up, and pulling out his old guns. And then
it does some real rational shit.
This was the most holy shit moment for me in the film, because he's like looking at one of his loaded guns and he's like, as long as she's alive, huh? And so he climbs up into the little loft where his daughter's bed is and points his gun at her sleeping body.
So this is when I realized this is Baby's first Lone Wolf and Cub, because there's a scene in the first Lone Wolf and Cub Sword of Vengeance that sort of plays out like this, where he's like, do I kill my kid to go on this vengeance journey? But then he decides he's going to give his like toddler baby the choice between either a ball or his katana. If he goes towards the katana, he walks the demon's path to get revenge on the Yagyu clan. If he goes for the ball, young Daigoro goes to meet his mother so that he can be untethered from earthly, emotions and become a true demon of murder. And it's basically that. He's like considering whether or not to kill his daughter.
Yeah, it's not new insanity, but it's still fucking insane.
It is fucking insane. Yeah, absolutely.
The daughter wakes up and looks at him pointing a gun at her and is just like, Mama wouldn't like you pointing a gun at me. And that is apparently enough logic for Briggs to be like, oh shit, yeah, okay, all right. I guess I got to take you on this tale of vengeance instead, because Mama wouldn't like it otherwise. That course correction never comes up again for him.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. It does come up one more time, but never in the context of would Mama like me taking my kid on this vengeance quest with me?
No, and this is the wrong kid died vibe I get, because there's a few times in this where she's just like, Mama wouldn't have done that, and I just kept thinking of like, wrong kid died.
Shit, now I gotta watch that. What fucking what is that? The fucking parody of Walk the Line?
Yeah, Walk Hard.
Walk Hard.
Walk Hard.
It. I was trying to remember the name of that. I love that.
None of this shit.
It is a very good film.
It really is.
Film. It's not a movie. It is a fucking film.
It's art.
I'm waiting for it to be added to the Criterion Collection.
I would buy that in a fucking instant.
Yeah.
So being mildly chastised by his daughter he was about to shoot, Briggs goes back down the ladder, comes back up, and throws clothes or something at Brooke, tells her to get dressed. No dresses, pants only.
It was pants he threw
okay.
at her. Yeah.
And that they're leaving. And as they set off, he burns down the barn and the house before they leave to chase the bandits, sort of burning the boats behind him type concept.
Makes no fucking sense.
No,
yeah, it really doesn't, because I'm thinking what she says like in the next scene, which is like, all of our stuff was in there. Why did you burn it to the ground?
Yeah. Exactly. It makes even less sense by the end of the movie.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense. But Colton Briggs is not a man who thinks very far ahead unless it's to kill a bunch of people. So the barn burning down, which does happen first in the sequence of events, I kind of get. That's where his
nasty shit happened up in there.
Yeah,
you don't want to purify the ground.
When he did that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. He doesn't want to deal with this shit. Like, there's a whole mess in there, and it's gonna, be traumatizing. And no, I'm just gonna burn it down and build anew.
Fire purifies all.
Yeah. But then he goes on and just burns the house down.
Yeah.
And him and his daughter leave to chase down the bandits. Now, almost all of the conversations that this little girl has with anybody are fucking hilarious, but this is where we get the whole one. He's like, all of our stuff was in the house, and he's like, we'll get new stuff. And she's like, but like my books for school were in the house. And he's like, your teacher's sick, but they'll get a new teacher and we'll get new books. And she's like, yeah, no, my teacher probably had the pox. She's probably gonna die. But yeah, Colton just comes off as like an insane psychopath, which is kind of entertaining. We cut from here to the marshal and his posse riding along. They're riding through a ravine, which of course is a perfect spot for an ambush. But before anything climactic happens, they're just talking about how weird the little girl is. So they're really honing in on this aspect that, you know, she's neurodivergent in some sense, because they're like, she didn't even cry as her, you know, mama was getting buried. Like, what kind of kid does that? And I do like that the deputy is just like, I don't know, like, people grieve differently, man. She's probably in shock. She's just a kid. And then the marshal's like, nah, something ain't right.
Yeah, that kid ain't right.
And then like right before the ambush, boom, there was an ad break.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Should have seen that one coming.
Should have seen it coming, but didn't.
You know,
Didn't
an
see
ad
it
break's
coming.
coming.
Okay, so now after you go to Nic Cage Fight Patreon, which is patreon.com/Nic Cage Fight, and sign up for the $3 tier, then an ambush happens.
Yes.
Not to you. That's only if you don't sign up. That $3 a month keeps the bandits away.
Yes, actually, that's part of the $3 package now.
Are you
will not
implying
be
we're running
ambushed
a
in ravine.
protection racket?
Yeah.
Why, yes, I am.
Cool.
That's the bandit protection tier.
I have geolocation on everybody listening. We know where you're at.
We've seen where you sleep. Your mother will cry after she's seen what we've done to you if you don't sub to our Patreon.
Now, we also have like all of the bandits in your area tracked, so we know how close you are. We will be able to respond in time. Yeah, there you go. I think we've done that bit.
Yeah, it was a good bit. We can continue now.
So, of course, they get ambushed as they're talking about how weird this child is, and the marshal's posse gets decimated pretty bad. The bandits do end up retreating after the marshal himself manages to get behind cover and starts popping shots off at them with a long gun. But some other members of his posse are not so lucky. One guy breaks his leg. Another guy gets shot in the arm, I believe. And I think a couple of them die. They're unnamed characters, but there's a lot of flailing and horses falling. You know, classic stuff.
Yeah, all the people that don't matter, like the people that you're like, oh, they're just here to die.
Yeah.
In a more deft filmmaker's hand, this scene could have fucking ruled. It's just kind of boring to me. Like, all the action does not look as cool as Western action usually does.
Yeah. I agree with that. The bandits retreat at a certain point, and then we cut back to Briggs and his daughter. She wakes up to him just sort of like standing over her, staring. And she's like, what's going on? And he's like, I heard gunshots like about 10 minutes ago. She's like, well, why didn't, you wake me up like right away? We got to go see what happened. And he has a weird line. He's like, well, gunshots, sometimes they make people move faster, but sometimes they make people move slower. And I'm still not sure what the fuck he was trying to talk about there.
He's talking about he's going to go check the bodies.
Yeah, I mean, I got that. It's just the weirdest fucking way to say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they saddle up to head off and investigate exactly what happened. And then we cut to the bandits, and they have a bit of an argument about the one character, Boots, their sharpshooter guy, springing the ambush too early. And the bandit leader is angry about this because his goal explicitly was to kill the marshal and all of his posse, so that there's nothing in between him and Colton Briggs's pursuit of him that could stop Colton, because the bandit leader did this stuff very specifically and for a reason, driving towards this particular outcome. So he's not happy. from here we cut back to, also, I'm sorry, I'll touch on this now because I'm not exactly sure when it gets introduced in the overall storyline, but a bit of the background of this particular bandit is that he was sprung from prison by the other members of his crew with the promise of some type of payoff. I'm not sure if the Marshall monologues about this earlier in the film or a little bit later, but it doesn't matter. That's the premise that's holding these particular bad guys in common cause. So we cut back to Briggs and his daughter, and they are paused on the road because Briggs hears a rider coming. And so he's planning on taking the man's horse, likely after shooting him dead. His daughter pulls the, I don't know if mama would like that, and maybe there's another way we can go about this. Maybe you could do it without killing the guy. And so
Oh man, I just remembered what happens here.
It's real good. I loved it.
It's probably the funniest scene in the film. It's got stiff competition with just Briggs shaking in anger as he's dealing with a customer, but this is pretty funny too because Briggs suggests that his daughter wait in the middle of the road and cry, and she's like, I don't know how you do that. And he's like, what do you mean you don't know how to cry? She's like, I don't know how to cry. And so this is where they start tying in that Briggs and his daughter share the same portion of the mental spectrum, because Briggs counsels her that she has to learn to act normal or people are going to realize that she's weird and ostracize her. And that's not good. So you've got to watch other people doing stuff, normal stuff, like have emotional responses to things and mimic that. So people don't know how weird you are. So he suggests her remembering the time that some lady in town's daughter or kid died and she was wailing and crying at the funeral. And he's like, just do like that. And she's like, where, my baby, my baby. That is not a recitation. That is 100% exactly how she delivers these lines.
Pretty tone perfect.
My
the
baby,
way that she
my
does
baby.
It is wham, my baby, wham, because she kind of hits that H at the end real hard. Wham.
Wham.
And so the kid does this, and Briggs is just like, that's gonna have to fucking do. You can tell it's just not good and more confusing than it is evoking any sense of protection. And sure enough, it works because the dude, one of the deputy marshal actually, who got shot in the shoulders riding down the road, and he sees this girl doing this little bit, and he's like, what are you talking about? What baby? What is going on here? And while he's trying to figure out what's happening, Colton holds a gun to his head, like off from the side of the trail. So it's successful, but in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
She definitely failed her performance role on that one.
The thing that got me was just imagining like line reading during casting for this, and they're like, all right, so here's the lines you have to deliver, but you have to deliver it like you can't act at all. It's like a very roundabout performance that you really have to nail, and the kid does a pretty good fucking job of it.
She's pretty good all around in this, so
I don't disagree at all.
Usually kid actors can be a little grating. I think she does a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. We're coming up on one of my other favorite moments in the movie, but we're getting close to the end of the runtime for episode number 1. So I'm not sure if we want to pick up there when we get back. What do you guys think? You guys want to talk about gas station dick pills for another couple minutes? Or?
Yeah, I just got back to reading the article about the dick pills this guy took.
It's a different article. I found another one.
Article. Yeah.
How many articles were these?
Why are so many people just taking gas station dick pills?
I mean, that one is because that guy works for Vice. That should tell you everything you need to know about that situation.
I don't know. I want to know how many of these articles got scrapped in progress because the person took too many dick pills, died. Guy died, took too many dick pills.
I want that to be on my gravestone.
Yeah,
Too many
right.
Dick Poles died.
Just imagining somebody 100 years from now taking like a charcoal rubbing of your headstone because they're like, this is amazing.
Nah, man, I'm dying in the future. My shit's gonna be hologram.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like a looping a gif of you just like shrugging. And they just got this replaying on your headstone where it says took too many dick pills, died. That's pretty good. I like that. I would do the same thing, but you already called it, so I'll have to stick to my current plan of just having my naked corpse thrown into a dumpster behind a foreclosed on Red Lobster location. That is what I want more than anything.
Lobster.
What was that?
It needs to be a Red Lobster.
It has to be. It has to be a foreclosed one. It has to. The franchise didn't make it. So it's just shuttered, but nobody's taken down the like sign on the facade or anything. Just the lights are all dark.
If you break in, you might find 2 or 3 boxes of like unmade cheesy biscuits.
Yeah.
Look, if I can't afford the hologram, just throw me out behind the Fazoli's.
There you go. Yeah, I think we've gone about. I think culturally we've gone about funerals all wrong. I think we missed a very, very solid a somber location, and that is closed down, failed franchise chain restaurants.
Yeah.
What could be darker?
Yeah, look, it's gonna burn down anyway at some point.
Gotta get that insurance money somehow.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if I feel like every failed franchise at some point burns down within the next 12 to 18 months. Like a mysterious fire caused
it's
by,
never
I don't know, homeless
mysterious.
people or something.
All right. Yeah, I think this is where we'll cut, and we will come back with one of the better scenes in the film, which is kind of out of place given the way they wind up the rest of the character development. It's a little odd, but like I said, we'll get into it. It's a good scene to start on for next time. In the meantime, you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter at cagefight_pod.
And also, I found a video called I Botoxed my balls to make them look nicer.
Wait, I'm sorry.
I
was
saw
this
that
like
embedded in the article?
Yeah, okay. I figured it had to be something like that.
And this man is Botoxing his balls to make them look nicer. If you do not want us to come and Botox your genitals, subscribe to us at patreon.com/Nic Cage Fight. $3 tier, not only will it ward off bandits, it will make it so we do not Botox your genitals. That's another guarantee. It's not written in there, but like it's assumed.
We're just gonna keep adding stuff to this particular tier that we won't do.
Yeah, and like listen, you'll sign up for it because of the implications.
Back to those Botox balls though. Do they have like a before and after picture, or are we just supposed to take this person's word for it that Botox made their balls look better?
I'm just looking at the screenshot because the longer I look at it, the more I'm noticing of the dude wearing gloves, Botoxing his balls to his silly face that I don't know how to describe it, like somewhere between pain and pleasure. Like this man went to go see a dominatrix and got it a little bit wrong, but he's still down for the ride.
Oh my
God.
The
animated infographic for this is pretty good though, I gotta say.
The image you're talking about is a still frame from what looks like a video that I have no interest in watching.
No, I'm not going to watch it. I'm
watching it.
The man
right now.
The man doing the Botoxing is in like a full suit, like not like a doctor's coat or anything, but just like a whole suit with latex gloves on.
Yeah, that's how you do it. You gotta be classy.
It looks like Don Draper is jabbing this man in the balls with a needle.
No, he's not built enough to be a Don Draper. He looks like a doll wearing a suit. He looks like a Howdy Doody doll wearing a 3-piece suit.
He kind of looks like God. I think it was it Horrible Bosses maybe, where they tried to hire the hitman and the hitman turned out to be a male prostitute who was going to pee on them.
Oh yeah, because they kept saying like wet work or whatever. Yeah, that was Horrible Bosses, and that was very funny. And I can't remember. It was like a famous dude who was the actor who played that bit part, and I can't remember who it was.
But it kind of looks like him.
There you go. Well, I'm glad he changed careers.
Yeah, from peeing on people to putting Botox into their genitalia.
There you go. I don't think I don't think you can Botox balls, man. That doesn't ring true.
No.
Oh,
no,
it was the
no.
guy that played Reed Richards in those bad Fantastic Four movies.
Oh, okay.
Wait, who played Reed Richards? Miles Teller?
No, it's Ian Grufford. Grufford? Man,
Who
that's
was
a fucked up
Miles
last
Teller
name.
in those fucking movies? I did not see those movies. I just know that he was
Wasn't
in
he
it.
Doctor Doom in one of them?
Maybe.
I don't know, dude.
He's not one of the main guys.
The Fantastic Four movies have been awful so far. I cannot tell them apart.
Remember the chick in fucking House of Cards? Everybody thought was going to be like super famous, and then she took that role, and now her career is dead.
No, I don't remember her because her career is dead.
Wait, are you talking about Jessica Alba?
No. Okay, in the new Fantastic Four, one that came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Like
I said, they all blur together. Was Jessica Alba not in that one?
No, the chick from House of Cards who got murdered in like the first episode of season 2, but she was like the main reporter character in season 1.
Oh, Kate Mara.
Yeah, like took the role of
Oh yeah, she was Sue Storm in the 2015 one. Okay,
and it like killed her career.
Her career is fine. Her parents own the Steelers. I'm fairly certain. Somebody can
Is that Jim Morris' daughter?
I don't know. I'm not a sports guy.
I gotta look it up.
But
now.
her parents like own.
What's her name?
Kate Mara. M-A-R-A.
Oh, you were right. Miles Teller does play Reed Richards in the 2015 one. I was talking about the 2005 and 2007 ones. Which how did that get a sequel to begin with?
I don't know. I think they sold it on the like. Look, we were holding back the big guns. The big guns being Silver Surfer.
She's not just a Mara. She's a Rooney too.
What the hell?
I told you. I told you, man.
This is like if Elon Musk had a baby somehow with like Bill Gates. It'd be her. Like
and
that
they still wouldn't talk to Elon.
Well, obviously. I mean, holy shit. I didn't realize that she was both.
Yeah, I don't remember when I stumbled onto that, but it was one of those things where you're just like, wait, how's she getting work? And then you look into it, you're like, oh, okay, she can do whatever the fuck she wants. Her parents can literally buy any career for her. Not denigrating her acting ability or anything like that.
No, I will.
Her. But yeah, no, the parents thing means she gets to do whatever she wants, regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. She can fail at 18 things and still be a billionaire. God, now I'm rooting for her to lose.
There you go.
4 episodes of Nip Tuck, a show I used to like.
I never watched that. I remember that being popular, and I was just not interested.
It started getting real insane by the end of season 1, and then real bad by the end of season 2.
I knew there was like some nonsense, like real weird storylines going on it because it came on around some other show I watched. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Always Sunny because wasn't that on FX?
That was on FX.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. That tracks.
I'm just getting angry.
I do love sending you down a rabbit hole, Rich, with just some offhanded non sequitur about somebody who's not even in the film that we're talking about today.
No, I'm so angry. I'm so angry that these people fucking exist. She has a sister named Rooney Mara. Like, their parents were so unoriginal that they were just like, what should we name this fucking kid? I don't know. What's your last name, Rooney? What's my last name, Mara? Like, just put them together. Fuck it. It's fine.
Oof. Yeah, that's a little bleak. Just naming your kid both of your last names. So that's the first and last there. Anyway, all right. Well, join us again next time when Rich is still going to be angry about this. I promise you.
Yeah, because we record it like 10 minutes later. I'm still going to be mad that these people exist.
You're going to be mad next week too. I guarantee you. This is going to be stuck in your head for a minute.
I'm Trevor from fucking GTA 5. I'm just always mad about rich people.
Are you also a cannibal?
My life is not over yet. We'll see what happens.
All right, that's perfect. We're gonna wrap there. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, listeners, we appreciate you.
I'm still angry.